Stories are built on a foundation of deliberate order. While events might seem random at first, an author carefully arranges them to lead an audience toward a specific conclusion. This logical arrangement is the plot, the sequence of events providing the narrative its necessary structure. By tracing this sequence, we can see how an author weaves national values and cultural experiences into the narrative. Analyzing a story's message requires a clear understanding of this underlying sequence. The curriculum identifies 5 core elements that form the sequence: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. We can visualize these stages using a plot mountain. It begins with the exposition, which establishes the main characters, the setting, and the primary themes. The narrative begins its climb at the inciting incident, the spark that triggers the main conflict. This leads into the rising action, a series of cause and effect events that build suspense. The tension culminates at the climax. This is the definitive turning point where the conflict peaks and the fate of the characters is decided. Following the peak, the falling action shows the characters contending with the consequences of the climax as they process what has changed in their lives. The story concludes with the resolution, or denouement, which wraps up loose ends. Some stories remain open-ended, leaving the final outcome to the audience's interpretation. This mountain illustrates a continuous chain of logic. Each stage functions as a necessary step that builds upon the one before it. To apply this framework, start by listing the individual events of a text in the order they occurred. Next, determine where each event fits on the mountain by identifying its function. We can ask if the event is establishing a setting, increasing tension, or resolving a problem. Identifying the true climax can be difficult. It must be the specific moment where the main conflict is settled, rather than just any moment of high tension. Categorizing an event correctly shows whether it serves to introduce a theme, build tension, or move the story toward its final conclusion. Let's test this logic with a prompt. Our exposition begins here. There once lived a man called Quadro who lived in Nyansakoram. Pause the video and determine the very next event needed to trigger a main conflict for Quadro. To build a successful sequence, link each new event through cause and effect. One action should directly trigger the next. Constructing a narrative is an intentional process. Each addition to the plot should act as a structural support for the scenes that follow. Working in groups to compare how different texts use these elements helps develop the strategic reasoning required for Level 4 assessment. In summary, a plot is a sequence defined by 5 structural elements: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. The specific order of these structural events allows the story to communicate its central themes and values to the audience. Use the plot mountain as a tool to analyze the texts you read and to organize the stories you create.